Okay, so welcome everyone. This is our demonstration or review meeting for Sprint 4. And today following the same format. We're going to review the work that was completed. We're going to present that to you guys as the stakeholders for the project. And, we like to celebrate. So, again, questions, please hold your questions for the end of the demo, and we'll take those as time permits. And also just remind you to please document your questions for John Starr and Steve Wynn as the product owners. They really help us a lot in help in prioritizing any questions and any issues that come up. And again, I'm going to remind you during the demo, if you're not speaking, please keep your microphones on mute. So really quick, here's a snapshot of the project schedule. This is completing week 14 out of 26, and this is essentially the end of phase one. Although at the end of the demo, you'll see that we're going to use next week as a short sprint as well to get some additional work in. And here's a really quick snapshot of the work that we put into the Sprint 4 backlog at the beginning. And as you can see, this was going to take about 118 hours of estimated work. And so, but really quick, I want to also step back and get into what we've done so far. In Sprint 1, Larry walked us through some of the site installation, just basic content editing, creating a basic page, showing some of the various fields and publishing options, and even went through some of the user roles and how that would look as you had logged in for different users, and also went through adding some multimedia and creating different content types. And on the content layout side, just some general page layout options, and went through that. It's very basic at the time. And moving into Sprint 2, Ryan showed us some of the pieces of the site installation as far as how the taxonomy gets created and even some of the SSL support. And again, just creating a general page. We also, one of the big pieces there was we demonstrated the portal RSS feed and putting that through an HTML parser, and we viewed some of the enabled modules, and went through some of the approved modules for that, and showing some of the mandatory header and footer information as well. And then in Sprint 3, Reese took us through some of the site installation pieces. Some of the optional features. He had some calendar uh, demonstration there, just how to enable one and disable one, and showed you some of the pieces of the starter theme. And then in the content layout, also in the starter theme, demonstrated some of the menu, the responsiveness and the styling, and some of the navigation plugins as well. And then also on the content migration side, he showed how in the content migration process, how we can pull in some of the menu items and creating the main menus. And then also one of the big pieces we got into the last sprint was the Google Search appliance, and getting that where just the configuration and use of it. So now that brings us to Sprint 4, and in this demo, we're going to go through some of the modules in the base installation, and Robin's going to also walk you through some of the content migration and how some of the assets of the documents are migrated into the system, and also in some of the content layout, some of the styling features that you're going to be able to use, and then some of the configuration and formatting that you'll see. I just want to point out really quick that some of the stories in this sprint that have a star, you can see that indicates we pulled in some additional work after we started the sprint, which we generally do not do, but we saw the opportunity to get that work in and maximize the sprint, so we made sure to do that for you guys. So with that, Robin, are you ready? I'm going to turn this over to you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, are people seeing my screen? You should see configuration up there.
Yes, I'm seeing it, Robin.
Okay, is it kind of filling out the whole
It's,
section there?
it's starting to, yes.
Okay, let me get that all the way out across there.
That's good.
Looking good?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, So let's walk through the work we completed in Sprint 4, and it starts here in the configuration section of Drupal. So I've already installed the site, obviously, and some of the modules that we added in this sprint help with security and providing the correct administration access. So one of them, User Protect module, was added, and we're just going to use it with its default configuration, which helps protect the anonymous users and admin user, that is user ID 1. So you can extend this, once you have your site installed. So this is a good security measure that we use with all the sites that we build. We also added another module called Administrator Role, which you'll see when you look at account settings. And this allows us to say that one of the user roles will act just like that user ID 1, right, the admin user. So every time a module is added, then this administrator user role also gets permission to configure and work with that module. So this allows you to identify exactly who has administrative access and track the changes they make. Let's see, back to configuration. One more module that we included in this sprint is Google Analytics. It is not configured by default. We expect that site owners would enter in their own account ID there. That's ready to roll after installation is complete. Okay. Another area that we worked on that Tom mentioned is migration. So let's go over there. So under content, there's a migrate tab. So you can see we have our different migration processes here, and two of them are new, UMN doc and UMN image. And let me just quickly review the steps it takes to actually run through this. So I installed the Drupal site, and then I added in tables provided by the archiver that Ryan DeBaker wrote. So that includes data coming out of content for one site. Then I also was provided with a zip file of assets, images, doc files, things like that. And those are unzipped in the Drupal root directory. Once those things are in place, then you can run through these migration processes. So UMN doc actually creates file entities in the system, as well as copying the files from their original location into Drupal's files directory. Once a file is in Drupal as an entity, that allows us to add additional metadata to it and relate other types of objects to it. UMN image does a very similar process, but with image files. So for GIFs, JPEGs, PNGs, those all are imported into the system as standalone objects. And then what we did in this sprint, we updated UMN node, which was already pulling in content and creating pages on the site. And we updated it so that if it had a link to an image or let's say a Word document, we embed the image or we create a link to that doc. So as long as the file is imported in UMN doc or UMN image, then we can embed it as a part of the UMN node migration. So I've already run through these today. We can see that I've imported matching amounts of items into the system. So we can take a look at what we have here. So over here in the Files tab, you can see we have lots of files. And right now I'm actually filtering this to show me Word documents. So I typed in .doc up here. And so what I can do just to check that everything's okay here is I can click on this link. And this is just showing me the file itself, right? So it's not really embedded in any content here, but allows me to see that it's in the system, and I can click this link and download the doc file. Let's go back. And we'll remove this. Sounds like someone could mute. That would be helpful. So here we're seeing a list of all the files that are in the system that have been imported as a part of migration. So if I click on this image here, we can see this is the image. It's embedded. Again, this isn't actual a page of content, but just a way for me to see as an administrator that I do have that image file. All right. So as an administrator, I can see the files this way. If I were an editor, I'd be more likely to go to my workbench, and I can click on this file list tab. Did I click too quickly there? Is everybody caught up? I should slow down, I know. Okay, so what we can see as when you're in Workbench is not only a nice little thumbnail of each file, particularly for the images, but I can also see in the On Node column what node is using this image or file. So up here, these Panoply images aren't really associated with a node because they're part of Panoply, but I can see Learn More is being used on a landing page, and this JPEG is being used on something called the home page. So we can, in fact, let's see, let's look at some pages. Go over to my content, and there's one, Fellowships Home. So this is showing some imported content with some additional styling that we've added this Sprint. And here's some of the files. This is a link to a doc file. Includes the little icon, so we know it's a file that could be downloaded. You may notice that there's this little piece of markup over here, the quote and the greater than sign. So we have it's a known issue that we'll be working on. It's just a minor cleanup that we need to get in place. All right, and another one I like to show some embedded images. So this is a Best Dissertation Award. This is unpublished, that's why it's in this pink color, background color. But we can see now that the images are here, that they're appropriately sized and displayed on the page. So that's all a part of Sprint 4. So we did some other work along the lines of our base theme. And so let's take a look at some form styling we completed. So I entered in, what I did was I enabled the web form module, which is installed but disabled when you first create your site. So I enabled that, and then I created this form just to kind of show off how it looks. So this is matching the designs that were provided by UMN's design group. Let's see. And over here, we can go to a landing page. And I want to show that we have styling in place for our heading tags, and our typography is set to match designs. All of that work was completed this sprint and provides a foundation for any new subthemes that are added to the system for each site. And one of the things that I can show you here is some work we did to allow users to set up tabs or accordion items. So let's take a look at this. So I've clicked on customizing a page, and what I did beforehand was I created these text panes, as Panoply calls these little chunks of content. It's a pane. So I've got 1, 2, and 3, and when I want to turn them into tabs, I put them in one region, in this case the content region, and I click this little paintbrush button, and I can click on responsive tab style and click next. Now you don't see anything yet, but we'll save it. And now we have tabs. So those tabs are in place with some basic text. You can, you can have images and all sorts of content within these, not just text. Now I could go and change these to an accordion if I'd like. So let's see how that goes. We'll click. Again, we're kind of making sure we're in the right region to set the style for the region. So you'll see this little paintbrush button kind of shows up on all sorts of objects in Panelizer. So you just want to make sure you're clicking the right one. So we click it for the region, and there's the accordion style. Great. So let's click that. I'm going to use the defaults and click Save. And now we have some other, so we have the accordion items here. There's some additional panes in that section that are turning into accordion items as well. That's just a lack of cleanup on my part. So, but you can see each of these tabs, accordion items are in place now. Okay. So one of the things that we implemented as a part of this sprint was to allow sites to have their own header and footer. The footer isn't displaying here just yet. So we have the university's branded header, right, with this dark maroon color with the links and the search form in it. And then this yellow band here represents a header for this particular site. And then down here at the bottom, this is, again, the University of Minnesota's kind of global footer, including the links to various, for the Twin City campus links and the copyright. And you can see I added in a little extra text here, and I'll show you how I did that. So this will require an administrator level of access to make changes to the header, the site's header and footer. So I click on Structure. I'm going to go to Pages. This is a part of the CTools module in Drupal. And this template at the top called Site Template is the one that helps us define things that wrap around content. So in this case, Site Template is where we're identifying and constructing the site's header and footer. So I can click on Edit, and we'll click on Edit Content over here. And what you can see here is we have this site name region, and that's our header. And it has some other items that will display in it when we use a hero image. And then down below is, there are two additional regions down here. There's footer links and subfooter. So the subfooter is what we'll use for identifying, putting any site-specific kind of footer information that you would want to put in there. So I've added some content already, and I'm just going to enable it so we can see how this looks. So I click Update and Save, and I'm going to click back on Home. And so this is the text I added in here before. So you can put all sorts of things, right? When it comes to using Page Manager, you could be adding images, bulleted lists, and text as we see here, as well as format it. So you have a lot of control just through the user interface to manage what displays in this footer as well as in the header above. We have a little more styling work to do with this header. This is not the correct font size, and that'll be happening in the next sprint. Okay. Now, I think one of the things we want to point out is that with the what I'll call the global header and footer, right, for all of university websites, we have these two links over here, MyU and One Stop, and at the bottom we have this text displaying. And let's see if we go to form styling, that might be a better way to see it. Right, and you can see the extra text I added in down here. So let's see how I did that. We've provided as a part of this sprint a new configuration section called Header and Footer Customization. So this includes the changes that you can make to the global header. So I can change what my U-link looks like, points to, as well as the one-stop link if we want to make those unique. And I can also, using this field, I can set what shows up in the footer So here you can see I added my extra text. So this displays on the left side of that global footer, and Twin Cities campus links, those are on the right. So let's take a look at that again, back over here. So there's our copyright, our extra text that I added in, and the links. So that, again, would be available to someone who's an administrator of the site, not just to regular editors. Just checking my notes here. And that is it for our demo today. Are there any questions?
I have one question. When you were showing us the subheader, are you limited to just that one subheader, or can you add and remove additional ones?
There are two regions there. Let's go back and look at that. So again, click on Pages, I go to Site Template, and I click on Content. So site name region is that yellow bar at the top, and at the bottom subfooter is going to be that yellow background footer. And then above that, footer links would be the place where you would, in the designs they show kind of, little bulleted lists of links sitting side by side. Those would go in this region here. And technically speaking, this is what comes out of the box. If you wanted to change how those, if you needed an additional region or something like that, you could do so once your site is installed.
Robin, what I was asking about is like a subheader. So an example of, let's say CLA has a subheader, and then the history department has their own webpage. So you'd have three headers. You'd have the U of M one, then you'd
You're
have
right.
CLA, and then you'd have history.
Okay, so that header footer will be available when we start working on the CBS pilot site, because that'll be a part of organic groups. So that's each group can have its own header and footer, but we don't have organic groups installed here, so that is not in place yet.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions for Robin?
And I will learn to say the word gold next time, Steve. I see your comment. Gold and maroon, are those the correct terms? I don't want to make mistakes.
So, well, Robin, thanks for that. I'm going to take the presenter back.
Okay.
So hopefully everyone should be back on my screen seeing the slide deck. Really quick, there was many other items in the sprint, and this is a list of some of the ones. We had some items in the base installation piece and the content layout, and also one of the big ones was we got a completed installation on Layer Cake, which is Acquia's hosting platform that we're using. Robin, was there anything you wanted to mention specifically about any of these? They didn't necessarily lend themselves to being part of a demo or easily demoed. So I know
Well, Layer Cake installation actually ended up being demoed yesterday as a part of the call with Acquia. So folks who were on that call were able to see the deployment plan that I created, and then Christian at Acquia used to kind of walk through the various scenarios of using Layer Cake. So so that's in place. For the content layout stories you see there, we did a lot of foundation theming, things like sidebar styling, which wasn't it's not really apparent when you look at the pages because it's pretty straightforward base theme. So, so you're seeing them, but I just didn't point them out directly. And that would be the case for those other items as well. In many cases, it's just kind of a part of the system, but you know, not worth going through some certain details that I can't easily show you in the demo.
Right. So, okay, and again, like I say, we also did add some stories into this. That those are indicated in the slide deck by the star. And then we had a couple items, or three items that were part of the sprint, not completed. User authentication, which is the shibboleth piece. As you can see there, we're basically there. We just need to get it merged into the site for the next sprint, which I think we'll have at the end of sprint 5, which we'll actually demo next Friday. And then we did find a couple of last minute bugs, that things we were hoping to get into this demo, but we decided to pull them out um, for QA, and we'll get those back in. Those were just minor things, and if you have any familiarity with HTML and CSS, you'll know that those are things that can bug you for a little while, but then you get them fixed, and they're not really that big of a deal.
And Tom, I just want to add in for those three items, they are basically done, and it's just a matter of merging them back into our main branch, and then so they'll be quickly merged in our next sprint.
Okay, yeah. Going forward, action items. Please, John and Steve, if any user stories you need to update or anything you want to add in, feel free. We'll be doing the same. Um, Bugs will have a QA in the title story, or in the title of the story, which is some of those that Robin just mentioned. In fact, we've already done that and probably performed a QA, and they'll be going in soon. Sprint 5, it's a 1 week sprint. It was initially scheduled as a retrospective week, and we're actually going to take that and just get in 1 week. We're going to completely focus on the grad school pilot site, and then we'll be back here next Friday with another demo for you. And again, on next steps on the UMN side, just ongoing QA, any feedback you guys have. Again, any questions that we don't do today, pass those to John and Steve, and we'll be happy to address those. And some of our big pieces is just getting a Sprint 5 planned out, and of course, staying on top of that user authentication piece. So with that, we conclude the demo, and this is where we celebrate. Yay, congrats everybody. I know the UMN team worked hard, and so did the Palantir team. There was a lot of hard work right up until this morning, going on getting this demo prepared. And so John Starr, Steve Wynn, you guys do a great job meeting with us all the time. Ryan DeBaker, Christina, Jim Hart, David, Jordan, you guys, meet with us almost every morning on a Scrum meeting, and we really appreciate all the time and effort you take staying focused on this project, and because we know you have day jobs, and it's difficult, I'm sure, pulling yourself away from some of your other responsibilities, and we really appreciate it, and just overall love working with you guys. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions if anyone has any. And again, if you want to put them in the chat log, which I see a couple people have, use that now, and so we'll start addressing those. Okay, so it is maroon and gold. Thanks, Steve.
I've got it for next time. Maroon, gold.
I'm not sure what Brent's comment means, to be honest. Molly, you've posted a link here. What is this JPEG?
I think that's a joke.
Okay. I was afraid to open that. Is that something that's good for the demo?
Oh, yes. You can click that.
Okay. Oh.
No one sees it anyway. uh, Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on my Ave Maria. I'm not up for that today, but I can practice that for next time. So,
I'm sure we'll listen to you every morning during this daily scrum sing practice.
I know,
I know.
right? I've learned verse 3. Let's hear it. Four part. It's just me. Oh wait, four-part harmony. Wait, we can do it. We're a team. I'm I'm sure Beth and Ryan and Reese can help me out with the harmonies.
Yes.
We'll be doing sight singing on Scrum.
Just so you know, Tom, just so you know, Tom, you may want to truncate this last part from the recording.
Okay. Okay. Well, does anyone have any questions going forward on the demo or anything about what's going into next week?
I think we're good.
Okay. I'm going to stop the
Okay.
recording and end the demo. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.